everybody, this is Debby Enoe with another episode on the challenges and triumph of online teaching. Of online teaching at the Female Educator Roundtable with another of my hosts from around the world. First of all, I'm going to apologize for yesterday not being able to come on. The internet was very, very challenging, especially when I'm especially when I'm doing female educators from around the world. Yesterday, my educator was coming from some part of Africa, and it was really challenging for us to get on. At 9:30, was still trying to get on. In the end, I said to her, we need to say goodbye because it wasn't happening. And then again today, today was another challenge trying to get on. We don't know what happened. It was saying that I was on another meeting and I was not on another meeting. So these are some of the challenges that I have been experiencing trying to come onto this platform. Could you imagine when we as educators trying to teach our students and we're having all of these challenges? It's ridiculous. There's nothing we could do about it. There's no point in moaning about it because that's the way it is for now. We just have to roll with it, embrace it, and just keep on trying. That's what we've been doing today. We've been trying from 10 to 6. We've just been trying. And we just managed to get on. So welcome everybody and thank you very much, Tony, for coming online. Can you introduce yourself, please? And can you tell us where you come from, what you teach, etc.? Thank you. Welcome.
I'm Tony Satterfield. I came from Mattoon, Illinois in the USA, and I taught high school art for 31 years. I taught middle school for 7 years, and I'm presently teaching understanding art at a local community college. So, and I'm interested in figuring out what other people are doing also, you know, to help improve my program, to see what I can do to lend a hand. I'm not great at technology. I'm just trying to figure it out.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we'll be looking to, we'll be looking at today in terms of some of the challenges that you have been experiencing on the online platform. We began to share it earlier on. Can you just share with us some of your challenges that you've been going through, trying to negotiate or maneuver through this online platform, please?
Well, it's funny you said negotiate because I find that students try to negotiate their lesson. And so when you try something on there, they're like, well, I can't get this. And I'm like, if I can get it, I'm pretty sure that you can get it because I live in such a remote area, you know, but, and I think they're braver about doing that than they would be if they were in class. They don't have to see you face to face. And so the simple email kind of, they think kind of does the trick in getting it to go in their direction. I found my students were working late and weren't getting on. So I had to take roll by watching whether they got on the designated days that I taught. That was something new too, you know, to figure out, just to make sure that they are getting on reading and doing the assignments, because a lot of them were skipping out on the assignments. So I think they felt like they needed to work more, or they chose to work more. I don't know. My semester exam was pleasant. I spent weeks and weeks and weeks on that exam. And then when I went to put it on, we used a Canvas program. It mixed them all up. And so my questions were sequential. And then when it mixed up 50 questions, oh, I was so frustrated. So after 5 minutes of it being on, I jerked it back off again. And then this was about at 2 in the morning. And then my students were emailing, where'd the test go? Where'd the test go? And so they're taking the test at 2 in the morning, which you know, I guess I don't think they're getting rest. I think things are changing and evolving. There's a new norm, and I'm not sure I figured it out yet.
Mhm. It's interesting though. Thank you for that. It's interesting though, because the interesting thing about it, the students are saying to us that they are differentiating for themselves. They are saying that at the normal time, I am not able to do my tests. So therefore, at 2 o'clock in the morning, when I've slept in the daytime, I am going to do my tests.
Right.
So they're dictating to us how they're studying as well, which is
Yes.
interesting. Interesting. Thank you. So how was it in relationship to you and the internet and stuff like that? Because, as a much more mature educator like myself, how did you feel in terms of the platform?
Um, I felt like I probably didn't challenge them as much as I wanted to. One of the things our administrators told us is don't overdo it, because we know that we gave you a week to kind of get all this together, and I myself I was studying at least 3 to 4 hours a day on what to do, how to do, how to present it to them, and obviously uh, Zoom is different, and it's different in how you give it to them. You think about, your voice projection, and are the kids getting on? Some of the kids are getting on their phones, so therefore they're not getting the quality of what you're doing, you know, and are they receiving all the information, even though, not only did I verbally tell them, but I put it, put everything in a worksheet. And I think now they expect all the worksheets, which is a lot more work than when you
Mhm.
do it in the classroom. So I don't know. It's just, again, just figuring out what the new norm is again, and what your expectations are, and how, you know, I don't know. I don't know that I did the best job, because I feel like it was the first time. I know when I do it again, I'm going to make sure that I fix all those things, but you don't always know what the problems are until it's made. So I don't know. So I'm definitely going to do it again if they ask me back, but we'll see how this goes, just depends
Mhm.
on what the criteria is. And I think every state, every country has different criteria. So it's kind of hard to know exactly what you're doing and what you're supposed to do.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you. So in terms of, let's say if you are to compare teaching online with the classroom, what would you say have been the biggest challenge or challenges?
Um, just the amount of work. If I only had one class, think what a person that has 7 different classes is having to go to, and of course maybe the younger set is more in tune with how to use programs and get them online, and how, not to have your questions all turned up upside down when you get them. Um, and then right now my internet's saying my connection's unstable, so that worries me just a little bit. It's I know we're supposed to have more communication, but part of me is I don't know about you, but don't you read kids when you're looking at them? Don't you read their attitudes, whether you're
Mm,
doing a good job? And you don't know that. You can't
mm,
look at them always, to know if what their body language is telling you. I
mm,
don't know. Maybe I've just done it too long, and that's how I've learned to adapt to my classroom. But
mm.
I miss that. I miss that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I share that as well, because on this, when you actually communicate with them online, all you're seeing is that you're not too sure in terms of the body language, as you say. You cannot read their eyes. You don't know
No.
what's happening. You cannot, because as we know, the internet could be very unstable. So there's sometimes you cannot even see what's going on in there. So like you, those have been one of some of the biggest challenges, that you cannot effectively communicate with the student, and you cannot read the body language that will tell you that they're connecting with you or they zoom out.
Yes.
You cannot really see that.
No.
you know, the thing is, it's, I just find it very, very challenging that you can't, you know, you cannot see that. But at, you know, the other side of that is we just have to run with what we've got, and that's what we've got. So it's like trying the best we can, but at the same time, we also rely quite heavily on the students to communicate with us so that we know what's happening. And what I found is they are not effectively communicating.
No,
I don't know what you've actually found. For me, they are not effectively communicating. So therefore, you are at a loss.
right.
You are none the wiser. So I'm not too sure in relationship to your student communicating, what was the issue? Because they were college students, so therefore they're much older and they're actually attending the program because they want to.
Yes. Well, we think that. Sometimes, like I said, I had 2 students who did not even turn in their semester exam. And I was devastated. And I emailed them, why didn't you turn in your semester exam? They said they just weren't prepared. They had 2 weeks for this presentation. It was 12 pages, but I'm still thinking, you know, a lot of those pages are taken up by pictures. And, you know, I guess I just didn't understand quitting, because I was never allowed to be that way, nor would I want myself to ever be that way. You know, I just keep going and keep going.
And I think that's the I think that's what throws you, because the fact that you've given them so much support, and you do, as educators, we shouldn't have expectation, but we do have expectation, especially when you feel that you are investing in a student,
Right.
and when you don't get return on investment, it is quite disheartening, because you're asking yourself, what have I done wrong?
Exactly. Exactly. Wear it on the mama shoulders. That's for sure.
Exactly. What have I done wrong? Thinking, well, I thought they understood the lesson, because they demonstrated as if they did, and yet still you didn't get the results.
No.
So I share that. So what could you do in relationship to that? What's the other, you know, what's the other step out after that?
You know, I really wish I knew. I'm not sure I really know. Because the 2 that did such a good job with all their other assignments, you know. A lot of the I had them drawing, and they weren't comfortable with drawing, and they let me know that, you know, that, and I didn't really grade on drawing. I graded on, you know, how well they learned to design using what I taught, you know, the tools I gave them. And then and the 2 of them were really, really good at it. I really think they could have progressed far beyond. But when it come down to writing, they just let me know that they were working, and that was what was important, is that job. And so and who knows, I don't know if they had to feed a family, pay the rent, I don't know. And that could have been, and, you know, sometimes we have to make choices, and we don't always know, you know, what goes home at home, you know. And that part bothers me, you know. And I'm not supposed to know as a teacher, but I don't, you know.
You see, the interesting thing about that is, if you were in the classroom, you would have been able to identify what the issues were, because it would have been much easier.
Right, exactly. And I think I could have prodded that out of them. You know, I could have brought that to the table and said, hey, you know, remember we did this or this or this, you know. Those are things that teachers do. And without that contact, you know, you just don't have that opportunity for that. And I even shared it with my administrator, and they said, there's just only so much you can do. So I don't like that statement, though.
Why?
I don't have control.
It's interesting. Yes, the day before yesterday, the last program I had, that's something I was saying about. I said one of the, it could be an issue. It could be, I don't usually say problems, but one of the things with educators are we always feel that we have to have control.
Oh yes. Yes,
of everything within our classroom and even outside of our classrooms.
Because we know where everything is in our classroom and we've organized it before they got there.
Yeah.
And when you think you have everything in place, I guess that's teaching.
Yeah. I think that's one of the, those are some of the challenges we are experiencing on online, because we are such control freak that when we are no longer in control, that things seems to fall apart. But we have to remind ourselves they are not falling apart. We now have to adjust to the new normal and remind ourselves we don't always have to be in control.
I don't think you like it any better either.
Of course not, because you're so used to, doing things and being in control of, know what's going on in your student, because you communicate with them and you get in, because you're there. If they're not even telling you, you're reading the body language, so you're able to identify the issues.
Oh, yeah.
But now, as I said, we cannot even read any body language, so therefore we cannot identify any issues at all.
No.
And that's quite sad. For some students will excel, but some don't excel because of the online platform. Right. So what have you noticed in relationship to your student in terms of their attitude to the online platform, to when they were in the classroom? What did you notice? What are the issues?
I felt like they seemed lost too. As I felt lost, I feel like they felt that way too. And then part of it was like, oh, well, then I shouldn't seem like this. Maybe I should seem more confident when I'm around them, because I wasn't, I don't know. I think we feel like, again, we didn't have control, or like, I don't know about you, but I kind of felt like I was being scolded as a child. You can't do this anymore, so you have to get out of here. You're not allowed to do this anymore. And I know that's not how it was, but part of me just felt lost. And I know they felt lost also. And I tried to reassure them, and I tried to come up with things and try to be more confident, after I don't know about you, but I kind of had a 2-week mourning period after I was told I was kicked out of my classroom. And then it was like, okay, now you have to wear the masks and buy all the disinfectant, and you can't buy toilet paper and stuff like that. And it's like, again, it was taken away from us, and not that it was anybody's fault. It's just how it was. And I guess that's how the classroom was, And I think they felt like that too. We're not coming back. We can't. We have to do all this. And one young man, I must share, one young man never did get online, ever.
Okay. So what do you do in a situation like that when students don't come online? What do you do?
I asked my administrator, he said, there's only so much you can do. You have to kind of go with I emailed him. I sent him a letter, no communication whatsoever. That last day when I told him that, and I explained everything that last day, I said, we're going online. Our classroom will continue online. And I thought he understood that, and never did get back on again. And that about broke my heart, because there's nothing I could do about it,
So thank you. So how many students did you have?
28.
Oh, wow, that's a big class. That's a big class for college, right? Because
it is.
That's amazing. So big. Wow. Normally you have, in college here, normally you would have, the maximum is 25.
Right.
Wow.
And then
Even 25 is a big class. I really do not, you know.
Well, after the COVID, I know I had 4 drop out. Just
Okay.
after the COVID, they just dropped.
Right. Okay. So how was the attendance online?
Um, about 22 of them.
Okay.
So
Okay.
not too bad. I felt fortunate
Pretty
for
good.
that.
Yeah.
Again, but then it's just, I don't know that I felt like the grades were where they were supposed to be, you know, because several of them went from probably B's down to C's,
Mm.
which is, you know, that's about 86% to 76%, you know. So again, I don't know. I don't know. I wish I could have fixed it. If I go back in the fall, I will try to fix the problems. Going to definitely get that test situation under control, you know. But and I've been practicing all summer, believe it or not.
You've been practicing or practicing how to
Put a test online.
how to get back online. My goodness. So in terms of, you see, that's the thing about it, isn't it? Because in terms of online platform, there's a far more work. Because look, you're spending your summer to make sure that you don't have the same problems.
Exactly. Exactly. I don't want those problems, you know? I wanted to zoom through. I want that 31 years of experience to show up and not feel like it was my first year again.
Yes, but you see, what you also need to appreciate is the 31 years are the experience years, because 31 years we were not teaching and negotiating the Zoom platform, the Google Classroom, none of those. So
Right.
therefore, those years doesn't come into it. What come into it is your ability to interact with the students, your engagement, which the online platform does not allow you to demonstrate that.
No, it doesn't. You're so correct about that. You know,
see, so that's what you need to look at, because I've been teaching for just over 25 years, and sorry, the online platform doesn't do my experience justice.
no, it's not fair. It's just not fair.
Exactly. It doesn't do it justice. It just demonstrates my inability to effectively negotiate all the online platforms. That's why you see, that also leads me to something totally different. When we're looking in terms of assessment of students, I am so against tests, because I do not feel the test is a clear indication of a student's ability. This, we could look at it in relation to our experiences, because the online platform doesn't fully take into consideration our full experiences.
Right.
It's just your ability in one area, or your ability right now how to negotiate the online platform. That's the same way I see giving students a test, which is a mark of their competence. And I do not think it is a true mark of the competence, because it demonstrates students' ability to regurgitate what they've been taught,
Right.
or rote learning, etc. Whereas when you actually do continuous assessment, you have a better indication of a student's ability. That is, I'm afraid, how I'm looking at this online platform and my experiences.
You might be right there, you know? So maybe I won't renegotiate that test and just give them the presentation that they did before, you know?
Exactly.
Because as teachers, we can read between the lines, you know, and we know what they had. I think plagiarism I worry about. You know, even though you can do the turn it in, it doesn't catch everything. And what I'm finding, I don't know about you, is they are, I didn't have this, but I saw across the platform that a lot of teachers were having trouble with people copying it and sending work in that wasn't theirs.
Okay.
And I guess I felt like I had the privilege to know what their work was before the COVID happened. But what happens next year when I don't have that privilege and they're not right in front of me and I can't see exactly what they do? So I guess I'm a little intimidated by that, because that knowledge is very valuable when it comes to art, knowing what their capabilities are and what they've learned, because I always did a pre-test, post-test, and it was hard to do a post-test because of this. So
it's interesting, though. Thank you. What's interesting about Turnitin, even before COVID, there were issues with Turnitin.
yes.
So could you imagine what's happening now that the students have perfected the art of manipulating the system?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes. I know that part scares me a little bit,
Yeah. It's interesting. I had a colleague who came on and she was saying that the students were submitting blank assignments, so blank pages. And initially she thought, well, there was something wrong with her computer. She said she was getting so upset, saying, oh my goodness, the student work have all disappeared. But she said when it was done twice, and then she spoke to other colleagues and they say, yes, this is what's happening. She had to pull them to task, because initially you're blaming yourself, because you're quick to blame yourself and blame the student, because you're thinking, oh, they've handed the work and I don't understand how the work didn't come through. What's happened? And they're blank pages, etc., etc. So students are very interesting human beings.
Oh, yes, they are. Yes, they are. I had some submit stuff from other classes to me. Wow. And I'm like, and I kept saying, hey, this isn't for my class. This is for your history class. You need to turn this into your history class. No communication whatsoever on that. And she was one that I lost on the semester exam too. So.
Okay. Do you think the reason why some of them actually hand in other subject work or blank page, because they just want to give you something so that's it, they don't care. Right. At this point they know there's a deadline and there's no classroom, because if you're in the classroom you'll be chasing them up, whereas on the platform they just submit and that's it.
Well, see, then they can say, hey, I got my computer recorded that I submitted it at this time, even though it had nothing on there.
That's very true. That's very true. Another thing is, in relationship to them actually turning on the cameras, did they all turn on the cameras? What was the situation with that in getting them to?
Oh, no, they didn't. It was all over the place. I thought that was a hot mess, because you try getting 22 people and they all want to talk at the same time. And then you hear people in the background, little sisters and brothers, the dogs barking. Oh my gosh. I thought I was going to pull my hair out that day. In fact, I was brunette and I went to this after the COVID, because I wouldn't.
Oh my goodness. So you had to.
Oh, so I learned to hate Zoom very early in the COVID. I was like, this isn't working. This is not, I'm trying to read the kids, but I'm just getting this and that. And then there's the quiet one in the corner that's not saying anything. And oh my goodness. So I'm not so sure. I don't know if you did one with everybody, but it was a hot mess.
Yes, but you see, one of the pluses, you could actually control the mute.
Yes.
That was one of the pluses, okay?
I didn't figure that out till I was done. Again, wonderful mistakes.
That was one of the pluses. It's like finding the button that you could shut them all up so that you don't have to have them all talking at the same time. So you actually shut them off, and you could just unmute who you want to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
Than having like having it like a marketplace, and you're thinking, oh my goodness,
Oh,
I
yes.
didn't hear anything.
Yes, definitely.
So that's what, that's one of the plus. Because when I speak to other educators, one of the things they keep on saying, oh, that Zoom mute button was one of the best things. It's like, it would be fantastic to have it in the classroom as well. So what did you do when they decided not to put the cameras on? Wasn't it a stipulation in terms of compulsory?
Well, again, I kept referring my poor administrator, because I emailed him or her to death, and she just said, just take it as you want to. You do not have to have the interaction with them. As long as they've got the lesson, they understand what's to do, they're handing stuff in. She says, I'll be happy with that. She says, I realize this is difficult for all of us right now. So she was very understanding of everything. They were very good about sending lessons on Zoom, but the trouble is that was probably, let's see, we had about 6 weeks after the COVID of school. And so by the time you got everything figured out, school was over at that time. And so again, I'll know more. And the school was very good. They went on the Canvas program, and the technology person you'd email her questions. She would get back, give you a video, how to do it. But again, all that takes time. And so I do know it now. And so it's just, again, in 6 weeks, and the kids know when you're struggling too. I mean, they know. They get it. So it's just that, so I felt like I did the best I could, but it just wasn't good enough for me right now. So I want it to change. I want it to be better, and I want to fix it.
Here we go again, teacher wanting to fix it.
Yes.
Not everything we could fix. As educators, not everything we could fix.
No.
So do you think that some of the students, when you say the student realized that you were struggling, do you think that demonstrated, so what impact did you think that had when they realized that you were struggling?
I got emails back from them saying, we understand, we get it. I don't think I had a negative one I think when you tell people from your heart, and when you're honest with them, they know. So luckily I probably had more problems in the classroom than I did when I was at that moment. And I explained to them, I'm trying to figure this out. If you have any solutions, I'm happy to hear them. I will promise you, I will try it if you give me something, but this is where I'm at right now. And so I felt, now on the plus side, I felt like I really understood the Canvas program by the time I was done. And I didn't even know, to be truthful, when I first started this, I didn't even have an email account. It took a week into the class before they got an email for me. And then they threw me into the Canvas program. And it's a really good program once you know what you're doing. But doing it before class started, no, that wasn't a good idea on their part. So, but to be truthful, I had the class nobody else wanted. See, and so when you have that class, I didn't even know I was teaching. Like, they told me on the Friday before the Monday I went into the classroom.
Okay.
So, so preparation, again, was hard to do. I wish I'd known earlier, but sometimes things happen. And so, and I feel like the school districts are trying to, they're struggling through it too. They're trying to figure things out too. And things do happen.
Yeah. It's interesting though, because once you actually As an educator, this is what I find all the time. Once you're transparent with the students, you get a lot more support from them because you say, hold on, I really don't know what I'm doing here. Yeah, I don't know what to do, but I'm supposed to be doing this with you. Does anybody know? And that's when, they're so excited to show you, to tell you what to do because they know, okay, well, this is something they know well. So it really does, students really does shine in those areas. Another question is, did everybody in your college, did they all use the same platform?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So did you find that, or anyway, you say you didn't know any other platform. So did you find that work well for you?
I think so. I tried out like the Google Classroom. And I believe there's bits and pieces. I need to do more investigation on it. And that's something else that I'm going to do over this summer is try to figure things out that way. But really the Canvas classroom really had, like, they could submit their work and it documented it. I knew when they were logging in because Canvas would send me a message, and I really liked that. I knew exactly, I could get a data work sheet out on their progress when they didn't do as well. I could get it charted out, which I like that too. See what worked, what didn't work. Probably the only bad thing was I was limited on how much data I could use off of it. Because, when you do videos and put the pictures, of course, it takes more. And of course, everything I did had to do with pictures and videos that we were running. So that's good and bad. They promised, and I submitted what I thought about it, and they promised that we'd get more on things like that. So, and I don't think I'll get in trouble for copying so many papers this time like I did before.
Exactly. That's another plus, isn't it? The fact that you are not printing for every student, even that's, the institution save a lot on paper and the trees.
That's right. That's right. So
yeah.
But I'm also that person that I'm not so sure that I think kids should take notes, but sometimes you have to look at what they're taking too, because they don't always know how to note take.
Yeah.
I think in our age it was drilled into us, but I don't think so as much now with the kids of this year. I don't think that they know how to take notes as well.
This is across the board. This is one of the challenges I'm having with students. They don't know how to take notes because there are times I have to do a whole lesson on note taking so that they know how to take notes and what to take in terms of note taking. It's a challenge. Students don't know how to take notes because in all my lessons, whenever I'm teaching them, when I realize they don't know how to take notes, I have to do a lesson on note taking and then give them a handout on note taking because they don't know how to take notes. And that's, as educators, we assume that they're coming from primary school, so they would be taught how to take notes. So when they get to you, we have an expectation that they know how to take notes. But I'm afraid they don't know how to take notes. Even the basic things, they don't know how to do that.
Reading a ruler. Oh my goodness. Exactly. You don't know how to read a ruler?
Yeah. That's the thing about it. These basic things that we as educators assume because of where we're coming from, we knew that at that age, at that stage, so we assume they too know that. And I realize that they don't. Another thing that I'm sure you probably see that as well, where we assume that the students know about technology. They only know about the phone, because I had a lot of issues with students not really knowing the platforms and the technology.
Exactly.
And it's quite alarming because we are looking at it as they're living in a technological age. They're being brought up in a technological age. And to find that they don't know how, they don't know the basic, they are learning with us. You know,
Right.
so that was quite, for me, that was quite shocking. But then talking to other educators, I realized that they know how to use Snapchat, they know how to use Instagram, they know all the apps on the phone or on the computer, but they don't know how the platform operates in terms of Google Classroom, in terms of all those things. They don't know how to do that. So
Mhm.
not only were we teaching ourselves, we also had to teach the students and the parents in order to get where we want to get. The fact that you are teaching college students, the parents did not get involved, right?
Right. No,
Okay, okay,
no.
okay. How old were the college students?
Um, they range probably from 17 on up to, I had some that were 35.
Okay, okay.
So it's a big range,
Yeah,
a
yeah,
big
yeah.
range, you
Okay,
know.
okay.
But the older ones also were shocked about the younger ones. And
Really?
they had a lot to say about how they didn't know how to take notes, and how they were privileged. That came up a lot.
Really?
And I was like, well, I don't quite understand it, and I had to kind of hush them. I had two or three of the older ones. I had to hush them down and said, no, we can't talk like that. You can't say things like that,
Mm,
because you don't know what goes on in that person's life. You have no clue. So
mm,
before you jump to conclusions like that, you shouldn't suppose that you
mm,
understand that they are. You don't know,
mm, mm,
you know. So whether that was the right thing to do, I don't know, but I felt it. What I felt that was, I felt like I needed to protect that student,
yeah.
from those criticisms, because a lot of times they would wait after class, and I don't understand, why they don't do this, and they would get frustrated by maybe a student was on their phone or something like that, and if I caught them, I would just, you need to put that phone away. That's the way it is. But
Mhm,
a lot of them think that it should be more, the older students think that we should be more forceful. And you can't do that,
mm,
and that's different. When we first started, you could punish a student by sending them out in the hallway or something like that, or sending them to the office. But I don't know, things are different now than at that time. And in
mhm,
college, definitely you can't do that. They can get up and walk right out if they choose to. Um,
mm.
but usually if that happened, and some of them would get up and go to the bathroom or something like that. I usually documented it, and then I would talk to them later on about, what happened there. And I guess if you got to go, you got to go.
It's interesting though, because when you think in terms of, as we both of us actually have taught, school age and college age, in terms of the college, there's so much more flexibility,
Oh
even in
yes.
terms of, the online platform. The fact that the students are coming on the online platform is either you know the rules, you come to sit and work, and if you're not coming to sit and work, you need to leave. So in terms of the online platform with the adult students, what were some of the challenges you had in terms of they're not actually sitting and do the work because they're adults?
Um, Sometimes they don't act like adults, so um, it. It's like, I don't know. I think you're also not just teaching them art, but you're teaching them how to be an adult in an art class. It's not just about the subject that you're doing right there. I think it's about, well, it's always about the education, um, as far as that goes. It's always about thinking a little deeper than the subject that you are. And if they didn't get it, I feel like we need to teach it somewhere. Someone else let them down along the way, or, you know, maybe they didn't have the parent support. So what is wrong with teaching them right there and now? Because you can't fix it unless you teach it to them.
Yeah, that is very true. That's the reason why I want to actually ask them to take notes when I do, because I'm not a big note taker. I feel that students need to process information, and I
Yes,
encourage a lot of mind map, etc. So
I
when
like
they do take notes, I do say to them, well, I need to see the notes they take and also the mind map, because I'm hot on mind map, because that's how the brain works in a mind map fashion.
right,
So
right.
so as an artist, yes, you would actually connect with that in terms of the mind mapping. So I encourage mind mapping quite a lot. And when you realize the students are unable to mind map or take the notes, for me, I have to stop whatever subject I'm teaching to go back to basic, because it means that they will not be able to record the information that I'm giving them. So I would have to basically do it there and then, or else we lost. It then becomes a cycle.
Right. The first thing I did in class when we first started in January is I taught them visual notes. And so we learned how to make the notes where you could read them so easily by using color, by using shapes, and then putting them into different things similar to your mind mapping. I feel like the mind mapping was probably more organized, where we went a lot more organic with it. And I really feel like that was a good step. And a lot of the drawing portions of it, we got it out of the way. A lot of the technology that went along with it, we did that in the very beginning. And I'm so thankful that when we did go to the COVID, the only thing I had left was the historical values of it. And that was to my advantage right there and then. So I think it's important. I really do. Even if you do have to go back to the basics and do some reteaching with them, but it's still teaching.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is. It is. It is. It's just teaching them the basic, because you want them to come up to scratch to meet you where you are right here in terms of taking the notes of my subject. But in order to do that, you need to teach them the note-taking skills, which a lot of them don't have, which is quite sad.
No, not at all.
So one of the plus you had the fact that online you did not have the older, or did you, in terms of the much more mature students having issues with the younger student? This is such a typical thing, though, because that is something I have quite a lot when I'm teaching college students or university students. You'll have the older students thinking, oh, why don't the younger ones shut up? Because they're not making sense. But as you said, at times we have to say to them, you need to meet them where they are, because they're young minds.
Yes.
They're still teenagers. They haven't got up to where you are
yet. They're still teenagers. You're correct about that. They haven't had the life experiences.
Exactly.
And you don't want them to have those life experiences yet either.
Exactly. Because some of the conversation you would have in a class of mixed mature student when you teach in college and university, it could be very draining, because the mature students are not, especially if they have no children, they are not connecting that these 19-year-olds and 18-year-olds, they're where they are, they're young people, they haven't got that life experience to connect with what you're saying. So in classes like that, it could be quite challenging. Did you have any of that online?
No. Well, if I did, I didn't pick up on it. No, it'd be like little things that they would do in class that they would get upset about it, and I don't know why they thought they should tell me, wait after class and tell me they were on their phone, I'm like, but I listened, because obviously that was important to them. But as far as when the COVID is, I didn't really had that. I had one make a remark about it, and and it was the same one from before. So I see that habit wasn't going to be broken overnight. And I just reminded him once again. I always told myself it takes 5 times to really get it to sink into him. so their brains of reiterating everything. And so I figure I'm gonna have to do this 3 more times now, somewhere down the road. Oh, but no, that, as far as that goes. So I guess that's probably the good thing about the COVID is you don't pick up on that. But that's, again, that's the downside because they didn't have any experiences with it. They didn't learn how to deal with it because it was just on a computer screen, And we know that's how we learn, that's how we evolve, by those experiences that we have in our life.
Yeah. That's the downside of all of that, inability to really connect. The plus for you was you already had the classroom community already, and you already had the connection. So for you, it was just a natural transition, which, how did you maintain that?
I don't think I did. I think it went downhill. Because I did some fun things with them. Like we did an escape room. Okay. And so they were on teams with the escape room, and they had to open up these locks, and they had to figure out, there was codes in the artwork, and they had to find the codes from within it. And I love that adventure with them because they did get to know each other. They weren't as harsh on each other then. They learned how to communicate. And then after that, it was either that or I just didn't come up with a way to connect them together, in that last one. And I was going to do like a chopped version, the with the basket and the TV show. And I was going to do a chopped version with art supplies in them in teams. That was going to be one of my other things, but I just didn't ever figure that out, how to do it online, Yeah. So, and I'm still thinking about that. So again, that's why I don't sleep a whole lot, and always going, always thinking, always trying to figure things out. And
yeah. As educators, that's what we are constantly doing. Our mind constantly ticking over. You might be in bed and thinking, oh yes, the student did not understand this.
Right.
Maybe I need to do it this way. As educators, your mind is always running, always running.
So I guess I've got that one to work on. I'm glad I talked to you. I have this checkoff list going on in my head.
Exactly, right, you do. You do need a checkoff list to say, okay, this is what I'm trying to negotiate for the next time.
Right.
Because I kept saying that in all my session that when we actually went online, that was a practice session. Because we had to practice. Like when you become a teacher, your first lesson was a practice lesson because you didn't even know how to teach. You didn't even know what you were doing. You were ad-libbing it. You make mistakes. You couldn't remember what you were meant to remember to tell them. You went and looked at the paper. You still forgot. It's like all of that.
Oh, yes.
Because you see, because when you see other people teaching, you're thinking, oh my goodness, they're teaching without paper, so fluent. And when it's your turn, you're thinking, okay, you have your lesson all planned out, and then you miss a session. And you're thinking, okay, how am I going to do that? Should I go back to it or just continue the lesson,
I just continue.
Exactly.
Slip it in next time somehow.
That's it, exactly. So that's exactly what we're doing with the online platform. It's a practice. It's a practice run. So when we go back, when we go back in September, if we have to go back onto the online platform, we know how to negotiate bits and pieces because we have learned it. We spent sleepless night trying to work it out in your head and thinking, okay, this student did not have the camera on. So what could I do? How could I get them to feel comfortable in putting the camera on? Sometimes we never figure that one out. Yeah?
Sometimes we never figure it out.
Yeah, sometimes we never do because, it's a situation where some students are not confident enough to have the camera running.
Right. That's true.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, or sometimes they feel that their homes are not, they're not happy with the environment to allow other people to come into it.
That's true.
You see, so those are some of the, because that's something I had to figure out. Because one of the things I said, you have to put your camera on. No, they're just ignoring you anyway. They're not even answering you when you say you have to put the camera on. Right? It's only when you actually come up the session you start thinking about it and think, yeah, maybe you know the parents say to them, don't put the camera on because the house is not, you know, not conducive to that. The other sibling running around, they don't want people to see them because they have no other room to go into. There's so many issues, you know, in
Yes.
terms of students not being able to put their camera on. And that's something as educators we need to reassess
Yeah,
as
that's
to
true.
the challenges why they don't put a camera on. Because I know that sometimes, you know, let's say if I'm on a Zoom meeting, I don't want my camera on because I might be doing other things while I'm on the Zoom meeting. You know, it's like I had an educator came on and she said to me before we actually went live, I said to her, "Are you going to put your camera on?" She said no because she's doing she was making cookies for the graduation. And she was busy making, you know, because she had 100 and something cookies to make. And she
Oh my
couldn't
God.
put up, exactly, because she said she asked the students what they wanted to do and they wanted cookies. So she couldn't put her camera on because she was busy in the kitchen making cookies. You know? So those are some of the, you know, those are some of the things in terms of students not wanting the camera on. There are lots of, you know, there are lots of reasons why,
Oh, sure.
you know. Okay, have you got anything else you want to share with us before we separate?
Well, I think I think I've shared quite a bit.
Okay, so what tips can you give educators in relationship to the online platform and some of the challenges and some of the joy, which I'm sure you have some?
Oh, I think just keep trying, um, and try not to put yourself down so much, you know, and communicate with other educators is very, very important. You know, I follow a lot of Facebook online programs
Yeah.
there and try to see what other people are doing. And I know that, boy, as far as lesson planning, it helped immensely, trying to make sure, you know, well, here I've got to study, you know, about the impressionism. How am I going to do it? What are the other people doing? That type of thing. And that really kind of gave me a confidence boost. Well, I already know this. I can put this together and then, you know, share it online because other people may not have your experiences and they may need something a little bit different. And I think we all need to be watching out after each other and helping
Yeah.
one another, you
Mhm.
know, as far with that platform. Um, as far as far as the students, um, I don't know. Sometimes I think people get into teaching for the wrong reasons. I
Mhm.
I personally believe you have to really love teaching.
Mhm.
I mean, and I know that I've always known that that's what I wanted to do. My parents tried to talk me out of it. I love teaching. I don't know if I'm just a big ham or what it is, but I love getting in front of the classroom and getting to know the students and experience and so I feel like if we're going to continue this online, I need to figure out how to do that online. I need
Yeah.
to how to communicate and bring that where they feel confident with me, bring it out of the student. And so again, those are other things. I see people practicing online and I kind of feel like in my situation, that's what I need to do is maybe practice it a little more and videotape it and see how I can convey that notion to the students, you know, that the Revolutionary War had lots of artwork in it, you know, which, you know, may
Mhm.
not always be, but you have to kind of get that feeling over to the students, you know,
Yeah.
and get them to enjoy it like you enjoy it. And
Yeah.
so I think that's where I'm headed right now. I'm
Mhm.
you know, 63. And so I feel like I'm still
Wow.
23 And
Yes.
and I'm
Yes.
still
Yes.
out there, trying to figure it all out. I don't
Brilliant.
I don't have it. I don't have all the answers yet. I'm trying to find the answers, and I enjoy
Yeah.
that process a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. It's amazing what you've said in terms of teaching. Yes, I do feel there's some educators out there who shouldn't be educators.
Right.
And I do feel that in that case, that's one of the jobs I do. Some educators who become frustrated and realize they no longer want to be in teaching. You didn't want to be in teaching in the first place,
No.
because teaching is a passion and it's a calling. And as I was saying to one of the educators a few days ago, I could talk about teaching and education 365 days in the year and still don't feel tired about it, because I love, love, love teaching.
Yes.
It's a passion. And anytime to talk about education, the joy zoom out of my body on the excitement of teaching. It just really, it's just brilliant. And it's like when I look at you and I listen to the way you talk, it's like with a passion. And I do feel something you say, which is so interesting. I feel as educators, once we are enjoying our lesson, the students have to also be enjoying it. We need to take them along with us.
Yes.
And if we cannot do that, there is a problem. As I say to all my students, you can never come into my classroom and be bored or fall asleep. I don't have that in my classroom, because when you hear my voice, you know that, hold on, I'm enjoying my lesson. So you too need to enjoy it, because I'm giving you reason to enjoy it. And
yes.
One of the things in terms of engagement, I keep on saying to educators, when you talk about students and not engaging, you also have to look at yourself. Because you see, you cannot expect someone to engage when you are not engaging with your lesson yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And something also said to educators, when we go on to this personal development training or professional development training, when someone come in, etc., and you sit there doodling on your paper or falling asleep, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or your eyes, you switch off. You need to ask yourself, why have you switched off? Obviously, that presenter wasn't connecting with you. That's the same thing you need to take to your classroom. The same way you felt, the reason why you feel that way, check your student out as well. Yes. And it is so important, because I know anytime I go to a professional development and I'm sitting there doodling or I'm switched off, that person is not talking to me. Because as we know as educators, and we have to be talking to our students, people connect to what we say when it is connected to them.
Yes.
If it is not connected to them, they will not be listening. That's what I constantly say to the educators when I'm actually teaching them in terms of engagement in professional development. Because if you are teaching a lesson and the students are not connecting with, they're not going to be listening, because they cannot see themselves in it. So when we talk about engagement, it's
right.
about how are we engaging them to make them feel part of the process. And if you don't feel part of the process, you're not going to be, you switch off. And those are some of the things educators need to be remembering, because I had an educator that said to me in one of the training I did, oh, well, blaming the student for not engaging. You cannot blame a student for not engaging.
No, because you yourself aren't. Yeah, turn that back around,
Exactly.
And
exactly.
I had one of my daughter's teachers did and you probably already heard of that, but when you point at somebody, you always have 3 fingers pointing back at you.
Yeah.
And I love that. I really do, because that gives you 3 reasons why they're pointing back at you, and you need to figure out what those are.
Exactly. So very true. So very true. And it's sad that educators are always blaming the student for non-engagement. Engagement is up to us as educators.
Oh,
it's
yes.
not the student job.
Oh, yes.
It's not the student job. It's our job as educators. Why are the students not engaging? Is it the work too challenging for them? Is it too easy for them? And as we know, lack of engagement lead to behavior issue.
Right. If you're bored, they are.
Exactly. Exactly. So they're going to be swinging on the chair. They're going to be rocking back the chair. They're going to be doing what they're doing. You know, how many times I step into the classroom and see students zone out, but the teacher is so busy what they're doing. They haven't noticed that the students zone out, you know.
I had in high school, I had, well, seems like in art, we get a lot of students that are attention deficit. And so we were on the potter's wheel, and I blindfolded them. And I made them throw their pottery on the potter's wheel. And I said, now I want you to listen, and I want you to feel, and I don't want you to see. And bless his heart, every single time he got on the potter's wheel, he'd blindfold himself, because then he could shut out the rest of the world and he could just concentrate on his work, you know? And so sometimes you have to be inventive with your students. And I love that aspect of teaching. I love that, the creativeness that you can come up with, but just to sit up there day by day and lecture every single day is just not, it's not, like I said, you bore yourself. So, you know, those kids are bored.
Exactly. Educators, you know, in order to be an excellent, not just a good educator, an excellent educator, you need to be creative and innovative. Yes. And the online platform have actually taught a lot of us to be creative and innovative. We have to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that part about it, to be truthful. I'm not so sure I realized my resources that I had until I had to do it online too. And so, and then I started paying attention to using this, you know, I figured if you didn't Google it, that was it. And, you know, but that's not it. There's a lot more out there. And when you listen to other educators, you can find out a lot of information. A lot. So.
Yeah, that's very, very true. Okay, thank you very much for that. Right. So basically, we actually looked at some of the challenges of the online platform. And although there have been a number of challenges, we actually negotiating the platform. Whoa, there have been a lot of pluses as well, lots of triumph. We have actually now have new skill, which we could then bring into the classroom. So that is a plus. A new skill which we didn't set out to learn, we actually had no choice than to learn it. You know, and it actually, another factor is it have actually made us really innovative and creative. So we do need to thank COVID, and we do need to thank the online platform, because it have given us those skills we never bargained for. Those skills we were forced to be innovative and forced to be creative, or else we just lose our students, and we couldn't afford to do that. So thank you guys very much. Thanks for listening to us. Thanks for coming onto the platform. I do ask you to like, comment, and share, because I do know that you are getting some value from that, because you are hearing how other educators have negotiated their teaching online, and what some of the challenges were, and what some of the triumphs were, etc., or still are, because some of them are still teaching online. If there are any questions, just put it in the chat and we are going to respond to it. Don't forget to please share and like and comment. Thank you very much, guys. Once again, apologies for the lateness getting online. Had no control over it. Could you imagine, we being teachers and always feel that we have to be in control of situation? When you are not in control of those things, it totally blows you. Because educators, whether or not they want to believe it, accept it, or appreciate it, educators are control freak. Trust me, they are. Right? Thank you very much, everybody. And I'll see you guys tomorrow with another educator from around the world. And hopefully there should be no issues with getting online.